Okay, we've got another aviation disaster. Two small planes colliding midair near a regional Arizona airport, killing at least 2 people. This is the 5th flight incident since the beginning of the year, and it comes just days after that Delta Airlines flight that made a fiery crash landing in Toronto. Everyone survived despite the jet being flipped upside down. The left blaming President Trump for flight disasters, and they say it's about recent FAA cuts. The CEO of Delta Airlines shutting down that allegation in a recent interview.
The Trump administration recently fired many employees of the FAA administration. Do these cuts affect you?
The cuts do not affect us, Gail. I've been in close communication with the Secretary of Transportation. I understand that the cuts at this time are something that are raising questions, but the reality is there's over 50,000 people that work at the FAA, and the cuts, I understand, were 300 people, and they were in non-critical safety functions. The Trump administration has committed to investing deeply in terms of improving the overall technologies that are used in the air traffic control systems and modernizing the skies.
But the blame from Democrats continues.
As soon as Trump takes over, they start firing FAA employees. So instead of fixing the problem, they are creating a new crisis at FAA. With people being let go, with everybody looking over their shoulder, instead of doing the job to keep us safe, they are creating chaos at FAA.
Well, Mark Meredith is at the White House with more. Hello, Mark.
Shannon, it is good to see you. The recent string of aviation crashes, including the one over the Potomac last month, has lawmakers from both parties looking at the state of America's aviation system. And today there is a hearing looking at President Trump's nominee to be the Undersecretary of Transportation. Now, normally, a hearing like this would not generate much interest. It would not even really generate a headline. But after this week's deadly regional jet crash, I should say the regional jet crash was not fatalities in Canada, the issue of aviation safety is once again front and center. There were a few hundred probationary FAA workers who were recently let go from their government roles. The current Transportation Secretary, Sean Duffy, says none of those who were released were air traffic controllers. Today, Stephen Bradbury, Trump's nominee, vowed, if confirmed, to keep safety a top priority.
We cannot fall down on the job, and these recent disasters are just a horrible reminder that we need to be constantly vigilant because we have a zero tolerance for commercial air disasters.
Zero tolerance, and the American public is paying attention, with the Associated Press polling people, asking them what they think about the state of aviation right now. 28% saying very safe, but when you combine it with very and somewhat safe, you see 64%. And Democrats are arguing the public, though, has a right to be concerned.
Americans need to know that the skies are secure and that their safety is a top priority. Sadly, I can't say that the actions we're seeing from this administration does any of that.
And we have seen the administration's officials, including Transportation Secretary Duffy, push back quite a bit on that. He's out in California meeting with some air traffic controllers a little bit later today. Shannon will be looking to see if he responds. Shannon.
All right, Mark Meredith at the White House. Thank you very much, Mark. And joining me now on the phone, Randy Klatt, Foundation for Aviation Safety board member and former Navy pilot. Thank you very much for your time, Randy. I want to start by asking you a question about this Arizona crash in which 2 people died. It was a regional airport. It reportedly does not have an active air traffic control tower. I guess this is maybe a feature of some of these smaller airports. How does that work?
Yeah, good morning, Shannon. Thank you for having me on. Yes, you're exactly right. The airport in Arizona where this occurred is an uncontrolled field, meaning there is no air traffic tower. There are no controllers at the airport. So the controlling is done by the pilots themselves. There's a common frequency, radio frequency that they use and talk to one another. So I would say I'm on the ground taxiing to runway 12 to take off. Others would say I'm downwind landing, that sort of thing, so that they can deconflict. And it's see and avoid. VFR flying out of the airport, they have to watch out for each other. So that's the way it works, and it works that way at many, many more airports in the country than actually controlled airports.
Okay, so we have the issue of the larger, more commercial airports where we do have questions about air traffic controllers. We know that COVID hit that hard as they were trying to, maintain the workforce, recruit, retain, and there have been a lot of questions about funding for that, Congress's role in that. But nearly everybody agrees, regardless of what caused it, that we are understaffed when it comes to protecting our airports and making these careers as stress-free as possible. There's no way they're going to be. What do you make of where we are now with air traffic control staffing?
Well, I think the FAA has said for a while that they are understaffed and requesting more funding and training new controllers or taking on new controllers as quickly as they can. So that is a priority and should be a priority, certainly. The 14,000 or so controllers work long hours. It is a very stressful job, as you can imagine. And we need as many qualified top personnel as we can get for that very important job.
In the meantime, Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy says it's also about outdated materials. He has this piece, America's air traffic systems need an urgent upgrade. He says we can no longer rely on outdated code that hasn't changed since the Clinton administration. We must move past the bureaucratic delays and stale excuses that defined the last administration. He's calling for major upgrades. Some of that may involve Elon Musk and some of his engineers or people who have ideas about improvements.
Yeah, it certainly may, and I saw Secretary Duffy's statement about that this morning. I think he's nailed it on the head. We do have to improve technology that's in use at the FAA. It's government wheels turn slowly, so they have been in a next generation air traffic program for about 20 years now, working on improvements, and they have made improvements. We do have more precise data and processing information than we've ever had, but we're also controlling more airplanes than we've ever had. Yeah. And that's where the rub is. Air traffic is up about 40% in the last 15 years. So we do need to improve and improve quickly.
Yeah,
and I think he's on the right track.
And funding has to keep up with it. Randy Klatt, a Navy pilot, as was my brother. So hats off to you for your service to our country. Thank you, sir.